see the name on this?
Yes.
Same name? Is it her?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think so too. I look forward to seeing her. No. I don't know why she.
We're doing both because of COVID. Things were kind of evolving, so we had it for planning purposes. So we're offering both a virtual and an in-person. Yes, sir.
Cara?
Good evening. I'd like to reconvene the meeting of Community Unit School District 300 Board of Education on this April 27th, 2021. Dr. Scarpino, please call the roll.
Zettler.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Stevens.
Here.
Scarpino, present. Miller.
Present.
Miller.
Present.
Thank you. Lamarca. Fiorentino.
Present.
All members are present, ma'am.
Thank you. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I had no changes to the agenda. Anyone else? Okay, entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second, Dr. Scarpino, please call the roll.
Aye.
Aye. Me. Miller. Aye.
I'm sorry. Lamarca. Thomas. Zettler.
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Scarpino, aye. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Moving on the agenda, we have some good news announcements from the board. Oh, and I'm sorry, I do want to remind people that we are all fully vaccinated, I think, but we can also take off our masks if we're going to speak. We have the plexiglass between us, so some of us do, some of us don't, but it's allowed. Okay.
Okay. District 300 receives Elementary and Secondary Digital Professional Learning Grant. District 300 has been informed we are recipients of the Elementary and Secondary Digital Professional Learning Grant in the amount of $37,000. The grant will address professional learning for school personnel that includes research-based models and best practices for instruction and assessment in an online, blended, and remote learning environment. Professional development will also provide teachers and staff with an understanding of the most appropriate resources and how they provide continual instructional support. Teachers and staff will be given the opportunity to participate in professional development this summer based on the implementation of PowerSchool and Schoolology and how to utilize these systems best in their classrooms. The district would like to thank all of those who worked on the grant, including Nancy Ostrike, Director of Federal Programs, Lindsay Jonas, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Elizabeth Freeman, Director of Professional Development and Programming, and Ann Pasco, Executive Director of Innovation and Digital Learning.
Former NBA coach Doug Collins speaks to Jacob High School coaching staff. Last week, former NBA coach Doug Collins and Illinois Athletic Director Hall of Fame member Jim Black visited Jacobs High School to host a roundtable discussion with their coaching staff. Coach Collins, who served as head coach for the Chicago Bulls, Detroit Pistons, and Philadelphia 76ers, and Mr. Black, who currently runs the Jacobs Student Athlete Leadership Program, shared lessons on coaching, leadership, and how to overcome adversity. During the roundtable, Coach Collins and Mr. Black discussed several key concepts, including the importance of coaching, connections, and leadership, the importance of communication, and how to build trust. District 300 would like to thank Coach Collins and Mr. Black for speaking to our coaches.
Online registration is now open for the 2021-2022 school year. Registration is now open for students returning to District 300 for the 2021-2022 school year and must be completed online using Campus Portal, which is commonly called Infinite Campus. Registration for returning students must be completed by May 28th. Parents can access registration by visiting d300.org/begin registration. Registration resources include a step-by-step instruction guide and answers to frequently asked questions are available on this webpage. Families that encounter difficulty with the online registration process, including those without a computer or internet access, can call 847-551-8445 for assistance.
Congratulations to the Westfield Community School musicians who were selected to the Illinois Music Educators Association District 9 Jazz Ensemble, or ILMEA. These students worked hard to prepare a video audition and were selected among many other talented students in the area. Congratulations to the following students who were selected to Jazz Band 1: TJ Agabin on the drums, Caitlin Fahey, trumpet, and Neil Soriano on violin. And congratulations to the following students who were selected to Jazz Band 2: Jimmy Hendrick, trumpet, Will Little, trombone, and Dylan Shook, alto saxophone. As a result of their very hard work, each of these students participated in a virtual festival that included a keynote speaker and master classes. Congratulations to all the Westfield ILMEA Jazz Ensemble students.
Mr. Hyde?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, members of the committee and staff. Thank you for being here this evening. As a preliminary topic, and I'm going to get to this at the end of the superintendent's report. As you know, today there were updates from the Center for Disease Control regarding mask wearing. For example, right now everyone on the dais has been fully vaccinated. We are allowed to be maskless and within 6 feet of each other while indoors, so long as everyone has been vaccinated. So we will be working to update policies and procedures to determine the impact at the school level and other areas. But obviously, in mixed environments, our schools in particular, our students are not vaccinated. And so as a result, there may or may not be some flexibility or relief provided for our staff. But also, please recall that only about 76% of our staff, as we have documented, or that we're aware of, are fully vaccinated at this time. So there will always be those at this present moment who have not participated and may not be able to participate in some of those flexible environments. So we have to, as always, take the new policy and revise our policies and procedures accordingly. So we will provide an update. But at least for this evening, you may remove your masks because you are all fully vaccinated. So we're going to talk tonight a little bit about the reopening plan for the 2021-2022 school year. As you know, we've already begun planning for the reopening of schools next year. All of this planning is based off current logistics and information. And so obviously there's some subjectivity in here or opportunities that will change. It can either become more restrictive or far more flexible as we move forward. And we will continue to monitor COVID and its impact here locally and across the state. At this time, just as a reminder, we are in phase 4. Good news, and I'll talk about this again a little bit later, is we may be transitioning to that phase 4 bridge phase, which is the next transition before we can move to phase 5. Right now, our administration is planning for the reopening of schools next year, and we are planning 5 days a week of face-to-face instruction. Again, we'll wait for further guidance as to what impact mask wearing, social distancing, and other factors we have to address moving forward. But it is important for us to note that while we plan on being face-to-face, the Illinois State Board of Education has clearly defined an expectation that we provide families the option to remain remote if their child or family meets certain criteria due to medical exemptions. In order to assist families and assist us with planning purposes, we will be surveying families to determine to what extent they may qualify. Based off that, we will be able to plan over the next few months as to how to best support those students. Clearly, there is not going to be an opportunity at this time based off qualifications and known data. We do get medical records and information on our students, as you know. Qualifying conditions at this time within our data system would not support that we would have enough students at an individual school in a particular grade level to provide remote instruction. So it is highly possible and incredibly more likely that students who are placed into a respective class will actually come from multiple buildings, but they will have one dedicated remote teacher. At the secondary level, it's a little easier to plan around. We've talked about this before. With our reopening plans, we have the ability to assign fully in-person and fully remote sections. But again, we will provide families with an opportunity to provide us with documentation. This is, again, at this time. I do not know what will happen and cannot predict at this time what will happen if the state moves fully to phase 5. I do not know if this flexibility will remain or this expectation. Regardless if this expectation goes away, obviously we would engage you, the board, and based off the survey information that we will start collecting, if I recall, later this week, Dr. Schumacher and Mr. McGinn, we will start collecting that information from families as early as the end of this week. We'll be able to provide you with that information so we can make an informed decision that regardless of this policy, do we want to offer that to our families in this environment. So again, the board will have some conversation and discussion, and we will engage our stakeholders as always. The student-related qualifications for severe illness are the ones, again, that are outlined by the Center for Disease Control. And they are specific to unvaccinated students. Presently, vaccinations are offered to students 16 years and older. We have received information that is likely to be pushed down and begin in the not-too-distant future, possibly as early as June, where 12-year-olds and up will have ready access to the vaccine if their families so choose. Qualifying conditions for students includes asthma, diabetes, genetic, neurological, or metabolic conditions, sickle cell disease, heart disease since birth, immunosuppression, or medical complexity issues where students may have multiple chronic issues that would impair or pose a threat should they come in contact with the virus. For their immediate household members, these are the qualifying conditions that, again, the CDC has outlined. Someone who's dealing with cancer, chronic kidney, lung, or liver disease, dementia, or other neurological conditions, diabetes, heart conditions, HIV infection, immunocompromised circumstance or systems, organ or stem cell transplants, pregnancies, sickle cell disease, or stroke. Please note that these lists both are subject to change. They're very inclusive at this time. We may find it to become more restrictive. We may find it to become more generic. But again, this is the guidance we currently have at this time. So for our remote students, as I shared, our interest is not to provide a mixed environment. The hybrid has worked well for us. Thankfully to our teaching cadre and building leaders who have done an amazing job adapting. It has not been easy. It continues to be difficult. They are doing an amazing job every day engaging our learners. And while it has become something they're very capable and adept at doing, it is not the best possible academic delivery for our students or our families. As a result, we will look to provide remote-only sections at elementary school by assigning remote teachers. At the secondary level, we will predominantly offer remote sections and fully in-person sections. So we will work to minimize and eliminate hybrid options to the greatest extent possible. There may be some very rare occasions, and I'll outline these here for you in a moment. So families that request a remote learning schedule need to understand it is a full year commitment. It is not quarterly. It is not semester based. We are allocating staff to this. And again, keeping in mind that we do not know if the CDC and the state will still impose social distancing guidelines even at 3 feet. We do not have the space to bring all those students back into a classroom once it's been scheduled. That's it. The commitment is for a full year. We will be very inflexible with this. I apologize in advance that that's the appearance we're giving, but that is our reality. We cannot force additional bodies into classrooms where we may not have the physical space. Our schools worked miracles, as you know, restructuring classrooms, reassigning classes to different areas. They have done an amazing job, as well as our staff being incredibly flexible to uproot their classrooms and go elsewhere so that they can best serve their students. Schools will continue to work to provide those remote-only sections to the extent feasible, including classes that may have students from multiple schools, and there may be a limited hybrid, in-person or remote synchronous classes. But hybrid sections will be limited to staff who volunteer or based off the compatibility of courses and limited to secondary schools only. So please understand that there are some classes, for example, should a family choose to be remote, there are classrooms that in activities they will essentially be opting out of. You cannot take a hands-on career tech ed class because we cannot provide you the opportunity to come on campus. It's simply not there. So families are told this in the application and letter that will go out later. All the courses are listed for them so that they understand. And let me give you an example. You cannot take traditional 35 millimeter photography because you don't have a darkroom. It's not possible. Digital photography, yes, but some of our programs still utilize traditional photography. You can't do welding at home. You can't do automotives at home. It's just not possible, nor is it safe. Some classes we did collaborate with LEAD. We took the initial stab at identifying classes that we felt would not be conducive to remote learning. Dr. Schumacher met with LEAD as well as Ms. Jonas and Ms. Vicente and reviewed those classes to make sure that we didn't inappropriately include a class or that we didn't miss a class that somehow we didn't add to the list. So again, just so families understand, there will be some limitations moving forward as to what students may participate in. Dual language is a great example at the elementary level. We will not have the ability to provide dual language for families if they choose a remote option. Dr. Scarpino.
Mr. Hyde, I understand that notification will come from the district, but as in the past, the building principals will also, I'm going to say, be required to notify the parents, because sometimes the parents pay more attention to what comes from their building principal.
That is correct. So we will ask them to continue to mirror our messaging and communication to families. You're absolutely correct. Parents, due to the volume of communication that we put out at times, and due to the length at times that and the great extent to which we take time to actually fully explain issues, our principals will take it, they'll compact it, make it more concise, and families are at times more responsive to those communications. Yes, sir. As we talked about, there may be times where remote students will need to be placed in an alternate elective class due to staffing and scheduling limitations, as I just spoke about, and high school students who will want to speak with their school counselor to ensure an appropriate schedule to support on-time graduation. Simultaneously, throughout next year, the team will continue to evaluate the possibility of that remote academy. We had truly intended to try and operate a remote academy for next school year. However, the timing and the current situation, there's only so much stress and change the organization can manage at one time. Going into summer, dealing with CARES Act and instructional recovery and all the other things that are going along with it. People have been, as you know, have been working steadily, very long days, round the clock, for 18 straight months. And so quite honestly, I need to give my team a break. And so we will look, and again, for any type of appropriate implementation, the time and effort has to be put in on the front end to engage everyone and to develop a robust system and to ensure that it's going to be productive and successful. And so as we've demonstrated throughout the years, we're very collaborative with our unions, and so there's a lot of discussion there. What does that mean if we offer a remote academy? Who's going to serve it? How do we staff it? All of those kinds of questions come to mind. Is it appropriate for elementary or more so just for secondary? So just throwing out examples. Mr. Stevens.
The list it seems to me to be very broad. You don't suppose that somewhere in the legislature there's some great wisdom coming that they think we need to offer remote every year, even after COVID, do you?
I do not. I think that will be a district decision, a district by district decision.
Because that, I just don't want to go there.
Yes, sir. Understood. Hopefully we can win you over. So here's our timeline. Tonight we're doing our board presentation. Tomorrow evening, the parent letter and remote request will be sent to families. May 7th is the due date for families to submit if their child qualifies. Now, please understand, while there's a due date there, should a family find themselves in an emergency situation where one of those medical conditions arises, absolutely we will accommodate. But moving from remote back to in-person, I need to stress over and over and over again, it's not possible. Because again, once we structure classrooms based off class size, availability of space, we are set. And we'll have some flexibility for new students enrolling and things like that. But at scale, we cannot provide the flexibility we provided this year. I will also, I'll own this. Many of our teachers have expressed frustration at times with the flexibility that families currently have, where a student can simply, students miss the bus and they just join in remotely. From their perspective, while instructionally they still get the same delivery, there are activities and things that teachers are scheduling, then they're relying on those students being there so they can participate, and then the activity kind of falls apart because they're not there and they don't get the full extent of that learning opportunity when they're remote. So it is something just to be aware of, that yes, we will accommodate emergencies, but only from in-person to remote, not from remote to in-person. And I say that knowing life has a way. I think we have been very gracious, and we will continue to be respectful and professional in all of our efforts. So May and June, we will determine the remote sections and master schedule adjustments, if any. We'll share those, obviously, across our buildings and with the school board. Month of July, we will complete student scheduling in Power School. And in the first week of August, schedules will go live for parents and students viewing in Power School. So that is the timeline for implementation of the Road Academy. Again, if the state changes that guidance, that directive, and we move to phase 5 and there is no expectation for that remote option, I will still bring it back to the board to gauge to give you the voice, to provide us a direction as to whether or not we should offer that. But again, it'll be an informed decision. Obviously, I make a recommendation to you. It will be largely based off of interest and need. One of the things where remote instruction has done an amazing job for us has been our hospital homebound or intermittent hospital homebound students. Previously, they received as little as 5 hours of direct tutoring and supports, and most of their assignments were sent home. However, these students have been able to engage in live instruction daily, and it has truly benefited them. And some of our hospital homebound students, as a result of the very small classroom sizes that we're having for in-person, have actually returned to school because it's safer for them and they feel more confident. And I believe Ms. Nackey shared with me that we have 18 this morning you shared, who have returned to in-person? And 16 of them went into our dropout prevention and acceleration opportunity for our students. Quick shout out to Shelley Nackey since we're on the subject of ALOP. So our record to date of graduating students who otherwise were overage and credit deficient at the end of the year was 126. We're at 132 as of this afternoon, with more coming. So they have done an amazing job. This was the first year we expanded it to all 3 high schools as an opportunity. So we're very proud of the fact that our students are getting that opportunity. So high school graduation update, speaking of ALOP and where we're going, Dr. Schumacher, do you want to join us at the podium and you can provide us an overview? Very excited about graduation and the work we were able to do with the Sears Center, and very fortunate that both the Village of Hoppin Estates and the Cook County Health Department have approved our plan at this time.
Oh, nice.
You should be good.
Good evening, Board of Education, Mr. Hyde, community. Happy to give you a brief update on high school graduation ceremonies. In previous presentations, we presented options for both an outdoor and an indoor ceremony at the Now Arena, which is formerly the Sears Center. Last year, we successfully implemented 6 outdoor graduation ceremonies. Very proud of those efforts with the schools and a good experience for the class of 2020. For the class of 2021, we are proud to update you that conditions have allowed for us to move the ceremony back inside for the May 21 and 22 ceremonies. We are still going to implement smaller ceremonies, in particular at Jacobs High School and Hampshire High School. Jacobs High School's graduating class is roughly about 565 students, and Dundee Crowns is 640 some students. Therefore, we wanted to make sure that those ceremonies, and there's adequate floor space, social distancing, also adequate space to create pod seating and sections in the audience for our students. So just kind of running through the slide, the last student attendance day for seniors remains to be Friday, May 14th. You can see that we have Hampshire High School first on deck at 7 p.m. on Friday evening. That class has 450 students roughly, so we are able to have the entire Hampshire High School graduating class together, as well as their four guests in the audience. On Saturday, we'll start the day with Jacobs High School at 9 and noon, and then round out with Dundee Crown ceremonies at 3 and 6 p.m. We are doing, obviously, alpha splits, much like we did last school year, to split up the graduating classes and their families. So some key details and a comprehensive FAQ will be coming out to our families as we continue to work with Now Arena staff this week. So by next week, we'll be able to update our families with a comprehensive frequently asked questions document. We'll post it to our website. We've already sent information on one of the bigger changes, which is that there is a ticket process. In prior years, we have not had to limit seating. So there was really no need to distribute tickets to families. We are in a position, obviously, wanting to keep within the 25% capacity limit to limit 4 tickets per graduate. Those tickets will be distributed in the near future. Obviously, social distancing and mask wearing guidelines are in force. We will make sure that students are seated 3 to 6 feet apart in row fashion. We'll replicate a traditional ceremony to the extent possible. It will be a little bit of a combination between what's year to year a traditional ceremony and the program that we had last year, just due to some safety limitations. But we will have live speakers, student speeches, superintendent, principal speeches, and whatnot. Again, the high school principals will be communicating more specifics to our seniors and families closer to the event as early as next week with the FAQ. So very excited, and I appreciate the board's support and the support of Mr. Hyde.
So a couple points of clarification so that our families understand why the tickets are limited to 4 and why we had to split the classes in half. To Dr. Schumacher's point, the Sears Center, by and large, could have accommodated even our largest graduating class on the floor. However, that would have meant limiting tickets to families to just 2. So I did not feel that that was in our best interest of our students and families. So the maximum number of tickets we could get to at this time was 4 by splitting them in half. Very pleased with that. We will also live stream graduation as we have done last year. So we're very grateful for the continued partnership with Xfinity, Comcast, because they're supporting that as through the Now Center as well. So these things are important for families. I'm very proud of the fact that Dr. Schumacher continues to work with Mr. McGinn and the principals for planning purposes. They are actually going to be visiting the Now Arena, and they will be actually developing a video for both students and families to show them how graduation will function and the policies and procedures that they need to really adhere to. The greatest concern, if you recall last year, the single largest concern that Kane County and Cook County Departments of Health indicated was they were very comfortable with how we were entering students and having them immediately seat, not standing in the back rows lining up, that we wouldn't have a processional. They were very comfortable with all that. Their greatest concern was dismissal. And so we will dismiss students by section to exit the building through various exits. We will also exit families by section so that we can prohibit or limit any congestion that could result in any concerns expressed by the health department. So we are asking parents to be patient. We're asking parents to be understanding. All graduates will exit, if I recall correctly, Dr. Schumacher, and they will cross the street into the parking lot that we used last year, adjacent to the Now Center, and that's where parents will reunify with their student. So we're very excited to be able to offer more of a traditional program, especially since it's indoors, because weather is weather, as we very much experienced last year. We went from rain to ridiculous humidity, and it was, but we were thrilled. We are carrying through the tradition this year of honoring our graduates for a second year due to COVID and the impact it's had on our seniors. We will be doing the gift boxes again. They'll be placed at individual student seats. Very, very excited about all of that. And so, again, a lot leading up to this. Dr. Schumacher and his team have done a great job. And as he pointed out, another FAQ will be coming out, and then there'll be a video for families to ensure that they understand what graduation. For our graduates, it'll be one for them because they won't get to practice as they normally do a rehearsal, and then our parents will get essentially a rehearsal themselves. So.
Okay.
So as I alluded to at the beginning, the COVID testing update. So as of yesterday, we were informed that we can no longer use rapid tests to excuse or to return students back to school who are showing COVID symptoms. That has been incredibly beneficial to us and our families. It has allowed us to return over 94 or 96% of our staff and students back to the workplace and back to classrooms. Unfortunately, that is no longer an option. So even if they have a negative test on a rapid test, they still must go now and get a PCR test. Please understand, again, for complete transparency, because we catch a lot of heat sometimes, for the quarantine period, the guidelines. These are not district decisions. These are mandated by our local Department of Health and the State Department of Health. And they do serve to protect everyone's interests. I know it's frustrating, and we're all dealing with COVID burnout at this point, but it is our reality. So they will not allow us again to return students. So we will discuss tomorrow as a team, since this just came to our attention. We will discuss tomorrow as to whether or not we still have a large volume of the Bionax Now rapid tests. We may still offer that to staff and students. I say may, we haven't decided yet, because that is that's labor intensive, 3 days a week for Sherry Schmidt, and her team of nurses that come in and volunteer. But they do that, as you know, we test here at least 2 days a week, if not 3 days a week, depending on demand. And at least they would have some assurance going to their physician that the rapid test was negative, but they will still have to have a PCR test in order to return. PCR tests at this time are taking anywhere from 2 to 3 days to get a response on. I talked about this earlier. So the phase 4 bridge, we are probably looking at the data and looking how it's trending. If you recall, the governor a little over a month ago announced the next phase transition plan. So part of that is the bridge plan. So if our data holds for the next 2 or 3 weeks, we can expect to enter that bridge period. That's a 28-day period of time that, so long as the COVID numbers continue to stay where they're at or continue to decline, especially hospitalizations, we will have the opportunity to enter into phase 5. That's where the uncertainty comes for us as a school district. We do not know at that point what that means for students. We do not know at that time what that means for staff or our families. So mask wearing next year, we have no idea at this time. It really depends on what phase we're in and what directives we receive from the feds and the state. School-age children, as I talked about, they will expand student eligibility for vaccinations to now include 12-year-olds. It's my understanding that that's coming in the very near future, as late or as early as June or July. So we will continue to partner. Unfortunately, we are mirroring the national situation that's taking place now with vaccines, that we are seeing a significant decline in participation in local vaccination events. It's estimated that they're only filling about 50% of the slots right now that they have available for vaccination. So one of the options that the health department discussed with superintendents was the possibility of transitioning away from some of the larger sites that they've been utilizing and doing more community-based events, but I don't have any specific details or confirmation of that at this time. If that is the case, obviously we would partner with the health department to identify where we have large congregations of families, obviously apartment complexes, townhome, those types of areas where they could actually get out and market that and see if they can increase the participation. But they are pushing it down to ages 12 and up, again in the near future, and we have heard Ms. Vicente, I believe, or someone on my team acknowledge that they're finalizing the research on children as young as 2 and 2 through 12. We haven't heard anything about that, specifically about vaccination, but as you know, they're doing a study. And those are all of the updates from the superintendent's report.
Excellent. Any legislative update?
Not at this time, Madam President.
Okay, public participation, we had no one, is that correct? Okay, I need a motion, we're on item number 10. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
Dr. Scarpino, please call the roll.
Stevens.
Aye.
Fiorentino.
Aye.
Scarpino. Aye. Miller.
Aye.
Zettler.
Aye.
Thomas. Lamarca.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
We're on item 11. This is consent items greater than $25,000. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second, Dr. Scarpino, call the roll.
Zettler.
Aye.
Thomas. Stevens.
Aye.
Scarpino. Aye. Fiorentino.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Lamarca.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, we're on items 12. 12.1, I need an approval of the curriculum's adoption.
So moved.
Second, any discussion? Okay, Dr. Scarpino, call the roll.
Zettler.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Lamarca.
Aye.
Fiorentino.
Aye.
Scarpino. Aye. Thomas. Stevens. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. This is item 12.2. I need an approval of the settlement agreement.
So moved.
Second.
And any discussion? Dr. Scarpino, please call the roll.
Scarpino, I. Zettler.
Aye.
Lamarca.
Aye.
Fiorentino.
Aye.
Thomas. Stevens.
Aye.
Miller. Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, we're on item 13. Any committee updates, Board Finance,
No.
Board Construction and Facility?
No, ma'am.
Okay, any board discussion items? Okay, I have a couple of comments that I want to make.
I would offer you tissues, but I have a feeling we may need a towel.
No, because I don't usually get that kind of emotional. But there are a few people that I think I would like to give some thank yous to. And my first one, this goes back many years ago, and she is no longer with us, is Barb Hinkle. So way back when, I had a child who has a late birthday, and the decision as a parent, do I want to have my child start kindergarten or not? You know, what did I know? Everybody else was starting. And thanks to Barb Hinkle, she instilled in me the belief that it really doesn't matter what your friends are doing, that is it time to go to school or not. It's what is going to be best for your child. And I've carried that with me even to while we were talking about COVID, and people would ask, well, what would you do? Well, what I would do doesn't matter as much as what you as a parent would do. My role here is to set the stage so that you as a parent can decide, not because, oh, my child has to be in this, but because, oh, my child needs me to make this decision for him. So thanks to Barb Hinkle, I've carried that with me when I look at making decisions for children. Fast forward to the same child, and anyone who has dealt with second semester first graders knows that that is a difficult year. And so bottom line is, I forgot to mention that I did hold my child back, or I gave him an extra year of play. So when he hit fifth grade, it came back to me in ways of, Mom, because of you, I am still in elementary school. I could have been in middle school by now. And because you gave me that extra year, I learned how much I like to play. And this school stuff is nonsense. Well, thanks to Dr. Doran, who took this mother and child to get us through fifth grade. But what was more important, and what I learned from Bill, you know, people talk about my calmness, my level-headedness. Well, I got that from Bill way back when I saw how he dealt with a parent and a child with no drama, with this is what we need to do, and this is what my job is, and I like this, and I'm going to get you through this, and it's okay. And that made me, at the same time in my career, realize that advocacy doesn't mean having to have a fight. You can work towards mediation, you can work towards resolution, and you don't need the drama. You need to focus on what's going to be best for the child, for the parent. So I learned that during fifth grade again, from Dr. Doran. So I know it sounds like just another child during fifth grade, but it wasn't. So Cara, you and I go back to whenever. I have to say, when I listen to you give your reports, the way, I don't know, your level of intelligence, but the way that you can tell me and explain, I would love to be in a class with you as my instructor. But what I learned more from you, other than your presentations, is the balance of home and work. I saw you when you had your son, and the importance of putting family first, not only then, but throughout the time as he's growing up. That at the time, I thought, you know, I was in the corporate world. And when you're in the corporate world, you're thinking, I got to do what my boss tells me. You know, my family has to come second. But when I saw how you focused on how important having this child and watching him grow and putting him first, that resonates with me. It becomes part of who I am. So, speaking of strife and dealing with being around forever, Susan. You know,
Susan began her career at a very young age.
she did. You know, way back when, and boy, we had some controversies here in our district. And at the same time, you had controversies going on in your private life. And you left here, you dealt with what you needed to deal with. At the same time, you went back to school. You advanced your career. You grew professionally and personally, and you dealt with what you needed to deal with in such a way, again, absent drama, focused on, is there anybody else who loves District 300 so much? I still remember that time when I made that phone call to you when you were in a different district, and I said, Susan, you got to come here. And getting you to come back here, and I remember the phone calls that we've had between then and the conversations, and knowing that whatever strife you have, you come out of it. You just do. Linda. So my new office is in downtown Algonquin, and I recently walked through Town Park. And there is a brick there at Angeltown with your name and my name on it. We also go back to that children's committee and all of those Jacobs High School musicals Saturday nights when the students would get up there and they would say, we've got this for Mrs. Keys. And then Mrs. Keys came over to the central office and worked. And oh my gosh, if there's anybody who could keep me organized and keep me on task, and if I don't respond, making sure that she gets a hold of me by some way, social media, text messaging, phone call, email, to keep us on task. You have done a phenomenal job with organization and, for me personally, keeping me focused. And like, oh, by the way, whether it's what are you going to have for dinner, or don't forget you have to have this motion, and where is this paper, and can you stop by to sign things? So thank you. So Colleen, I don't know if you all know this, but Colleen and I share a birth date. A few decades apart, but it's still on the same birth date. Colleen has the ability to tell me I'm wrong without telling me that I'm wrong. She has the ability to have this tact about her to say, you're pushing the envelope in the wrong way, and pull me back and say, oh, okay, by the way, this is, what you need to do. Keep on task. To say nothing about having the cutest little toddler ever and the updates. And he's just lucky that I'm not his grandmother, because he would be totally in that spoiled. But I was so pleased when Colleen came to work for us to have in-house counsel and to see her growth and follow along with her family, but also be able to have somebody who could tell me in her ways, you're wrong. Let's look at these things differently. So thank you. Kristen's not here, but Kristen also is someone who has taught me that by observing her to pull from inside. When you are faced with whether it is a professional growth issue, I don't know if I can do this, to pull from inside and say, I have to go in a different direction, but I've got the strength to do this. You know, and again, Kristen goes back a ways, so I have seen the professional and personal growth that I've been able to say, I admire these traits, I want to incorporate them. They're not here, but Jeff Herb and Dan Palumit went to school with my children. I have a very hard time as a mom, seeing my children be adults and realizing that they're adults and not still my children. I try, but I don't always get there. But when I see Jeff and Dan, and I see them as adults and progressing and being responsible and being, you know, adulting, thinking that's my children's generation. And so, yeah, I guess my kids are adults. I see that, and that matters. And it helps me to look at my kids as adults. Now, Mike Williamson's not here, but...
He's listening.
Okay, Mike, back in the day, Mike and I had a conversation or an arrangement. We were going to get into a debate. It was going to be board president against whatever role he had at the time. And we were going to try and who could win this debate. We never had that debate, and I don't think we ever will, because what I have seen in him and what I've learned from him and working with him is that the debate and the positioning is all about that. Who's going to be stronger in their position? It doesn't get us further in reaching a compromise or reaching a resolution. We do better with dialogue. We do better with discussion. We do better getting the drama out, focusing on the issue, and trying to reach a resolution. So I don't know that I'm ever going to have that debate with Mike, because I don't think we need to. There isn't a power play between this side and this side. There's more of a collaboration. I'm not going to make it because I have one left. Shelley. Your compassion for students transcends everything. Whether a student has issues, has disabilities, is stellar, doesn't matter. They deserve an education. They can learn. We've done amazing things keeping students in school, giving them education, and realizing that decisions we make here, we have to consider, is there a group that always suffers? What happens to those special ed students? How many times do they get moved because we're addressing the regular ed students? How many times do we not give them the same courtesy that we give to everyone else? How many times are there students that have traumas that they're coming to school with, or discipline issues that we were just so willing to discount and write off? How many students have we provided that education for? I look to you, again, going back to this same child that Dr. Jordan helped me get through 5th grade. How did we get him through high school, let alone how did we get him through college and employed? How many times did I lean on you, and how much did I learn from you in putting students first and just doing what was right? How many times did I have to call you because there's, special ed question or a student question, and it was, yeah, this is what we do, because this is what you do. So thank you. Now, I'm not even going to touch the board here because I just can't. And so at our next meeting, I have little thank you notes for each of you. I will make a few comments. Dr. Scarpino and I go way back as well with Shelley, starting our peer jury, having pizzas over there in your office and with the jury. And the transition that we've made throughout the years, and developing a level of professionalism and respect. So, and I'm going to go down. Leslie, we only know each other a couple of years. And I know sometimes I sound, and I'm a little bit, is this censored? But a little bit bitchy. And a little bit demanding, and a little bit sort of pushing back. And the reasons why I do that is because I see in you this ability to branch out from what you're used to this horizon, because you have got such goodness in your heart to reach out to people, to give to people, you have this center in you of your ethical center, and I push you to challenge you, and you come back, and that's good. And I can't wait to interview your daughter to come and work for me, but that's separate, you know. You're not going to make it through graduation at Hampshire. You just aren't. Emmanuel? Oh my gosh. Do you even, so people ask me, why did I decide not to run? Why is now the time? And there were two things that occurred to me three things. One is we sit here and we talk about the 4-year plan or out. And I think, you know what? That passion that I have, that ability isn't there. The ability to let go is becoming a stronger emotion. But then I have this client a couple of years ago. You may, if you listen to WBBM, you hear Rachel Pearson as one of the reporters there. And we were in real estate closing for her house. And her husband was the teacher over at Yorkville or York College or somewhere, high school. And listening to them talk and their enthusiasm for what they're going to do in their future and what their generation can do, it was just very appealing to make me think, you know what? We've got a new generation coming up. And they're our leaders. They need to take over. And then we had a board opening, and Emmanuel came in and he interviewed with us. And it was after that interview and after that meeting, that night, when I made the announcement to my fellow board members that I was not going to seek re-election, that there are quality, qualified, exceptional candidates out there, and it's time to let go and let new people come on board. So we've only worked together a short time. We probably haven't had more conversation than maybe 5 or 10 minutes here and there. But know that that role that you played is very important to me. Nancy, the one thing I admire most about you is you tell it like it is, and I wish that I had some of that ability to do that. It's not me, but I admire the ability to have that conviction. We go back, again, years, and your daughters, so much. There was, between referendums and the EDA, and your passion for the school district, that now no one can ever question that. And you represent an area of people within our district that really needs that strong voice. And I remember being after over at the senior center, and we were talking in the parking lot, and I'm thinking, This woman has to do something more for the district than just what she is. I am pleased that you are on the board. It's going to be good. It's good. And I'm good. Steve, the one thing that I admire most about you is, well, it's actually two things. It's your constant pushing us to get the community involved, constantly pushing us to say, we have to communicate better. We have to communicate differently. We have to hear from the community. We have to get the word out. We have to get the word in. I think what I learned from you way back, whenever it was, it isn't just getting the information out as much as getting the information in, and how to do that. And again, your faith and your convictions and your ethics just resonate with everything that you say. Even in your email, your closing, fondly, Steve, the way that you can incorporate your faith into what you do. So I was raised Catholic, okay? My children were raised Catholic, but none of them are Catholic. One says he's agnostic, one is Buddhist, and I guess maybe one is Catholic. I come from a family that we were all raised Catholic, and I think 1 out of 7 of us, maybe 2 out of 7 of us actually practice the religion. So one of the things that I look at that I feel lacking is that conviction and faith, because that gives you your true north. That's how you balance everything. I don't have that. I have to go just pulling from within. And so I've always admired how you bring that back, how your decisions here with the school district, how you talk with parents, how you bring that and the community all back to that. Joe, Mom says no, ask Dad. Dad says no, ask Mom. We have a love-hate relationship. We love each other more than we hate each other. We battle. But part of that is because we're different, we think different, we believe different, we process differently. But at the heart of it, what is best for District 300? We're able to get past, Joe taught me, don't ever back someone into a corner because it's too hard to get out. And when you get somebody into that corner and they can't get out, you can't reach a resolution. It's too tough. We've been through a lot together. And I think early on, board members would put us onto committees because if Ann and Joe agreed, we knew, everybody knew that we came at it from different angles, and we processed differently, and we battled and we fought. But if we came to an agreement, which we very often did, that it was well thought out, and we had our peers respecting us for that. It's going to be tough, but you're still going to stop by once in a while, right? I always have wine. Yeah, and I still have my backyard. So, yes. Fred, I've worked with 5 superintendents. You're number 5 here in this school district. So I got this list the other day of things that were accomplished during the time that I was on the board. 90% of them were within the last 5 years. Because of your leadership, and again, I keep going back, the focus on the kids, the focus on the yes versus the no, the let's get rid of the drama. Oh my gosh, and we had the drama during the whole COVID. We made some good decisions, we made some bad decisions, but it was all new. And I'll tell you, over the last 23 and a half years, we made some really bad. Let's not forget that I was on the board when we went into $29 million or $27 million in debt. I had to learn what a tax anticipation warrant was. By the time I learned what I was actually voting on, we were in debt, and we were trying to get out of it. So you came on at a good time, in spite of COVID, but you came on before that. We were able to focus, and what we do now is, instead of having our budget run our program runs our budget. The team that you have put together, what you have done for this district, is open up communication, open up the focus for being on what can we do for education for every child, not just those that are in gen ed, not those that just excel, but every child. And because you have your own child going through the system and growing up at different stages, and because you were a teacher in science and in middle school, the experience that you have and the ability to resonate as a parent to parents and understand that not everything goes by the book. And the ability to adapt and not dig in your feet. But the most impressive thing to me is not counting votes. You don't look at board members and say, okay, I have 4 votes, I don't have to go any further. Or I'm going to count on just the board members that I like, that I'm going to talk to. You treat each one of the board members as an equal vote, as an equal say, and you work your tail off to make sure that each one of us has our concerns addressed, because our concerns aren't individual. Our concerns are what we get from the community. And you work so that there is a compromise, there's a resolution, so that you don't have a split board. But you have never said, I got 4 votes, I'm going to be okay, and been settled with that. It's, I got 4 now I got 5, now I got 6. Well, I'm okay with 6-1, but you really weren't. And you would go for the 7-0. So whenever I have a question from the community, I know if I go to you, it will get answered. They may not like the answer, but your ability to communicate and to explain, it's great. So, all right, so I know that I have just rambled, but since it's my last meeting, you really don't have to worry about this happening again, because, yeah, thank you. No, geez, you're not supposed to do that. Thank you all. It's a group effort. It's not an I, it's a group. So with that, I am going to make a motion to adjourn. And Dr. Scapino, please call the roll.
Miller.
Aye.
Fiorentino.
Aye.
Zettler. Thomas. Stevens. Lamarca. Scarpino, aye. Motion passes 7-0, ma'am.
Thank you.